Good evening, everyone. It's been a while since I have done a LinkedIn Live, and it feels great to be back. And today, we're going to be having an interesting discussion with ACS's Emerging ICT Professional of the Year 2022. He is a finalist, Mr. Dilan Jayasekara. So let's add him to the stream. Good evening, Dylan.
Hi Nethila, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks. Thanks for asking.
So, could you tell us what it's like in Australia right now so the audience can know?
Yeah, it's time is now 10:32 p.m. so at night, and it's 8 degrees outside, I think, because it's winter now, but 8 is better compared to the last 2 days. So yeah, but we are still having all the jumpers on, and then we are getting warm inside. So yeah, how's everything back in Sri Lanka and Colombo?
It's the same as it was probably
Yeah,
before you left to Australia. It's every day it's really hot. We have
yeah,
peaceful protests going on. There's a new
yeah,
president now. There's economic a crisis happening. So let's
yeah.
get down to the questions, shall we? So my
Yeah.
first question for you will be about your childhood. Can you tell us about your childhood?
Yeah, before jumping into that, yeah, first of all, thanks so much, Nethila, for inviting me for this amazing LinkedIn
Thank
series.
you very much for accepting the invite. I
Yeah,
was
because
very
I've
happy
been
when I
watching
heard.
this content for a while, and I'm really happy to be here and very looking forward to all the interesting questions. So, yeah, thanks.
I'm looking forward to what you have to say from my questions.
Yeah, and I'm sure it should be an interesting one. So, yeah.
Yeah, so your childhood.
Yeah, I guess yeah, that's always a good question to break the ice, yeah. But yet it's still a bit harder to explain it simply, in my opinion. But I guess I'll put it this way. So I was born and raised in Sri Lanka to a family of four, in a small suburb called Imbulgoda in Gampha district. Um, I guess I was just a normal kid, just enjoying the life to its fullest, just being the younger kid in the family, annoying parents all the time and my sister all the time. And what else? I really loved watching cartoons when I was growing up. I loved superheroes. I still do. And I was very passionate about drawing, art, and all the creative design and things when I was a kid.
Yeah, I can see. I think that's Goku in the background, a famous
Yeah, yeah,
character.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Goku from Dragon Ball. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm still into. I mean, that's not something that I do. That's my wife's work, and she's also very much into all the art and all the creative design stuff as well. But yeah, when I was a kid, yeah, I was very much into all the drawings, art, and creative design. But back then, I didn't know it was creative design. It was just me trying to sort of put everything in my imagination into a piece of paper, and I really love the concept of colors blended together and getting a new color using another color, things like that. But yeah, so I guess pretty much in a nutshell, I had an amazing childhood thanks to my parents. Yeah, I guess that answered your question. Or if you feel like I have skipped something, or if you feel like I didn't directly answer your question, just feel free to.
No, I think you answered the full question with that. I mean, I can relate with you, knowing my parents being the younger child, being the younger child in the family.
Yeah,
That's literally me as well. And
yeah,
when
okay.
you said you like putting everything in your imagination onto a piece of paper, now I like art, but not that much. I'm more of a Lego guy, like creating it in real life.
Building blocks and
IRL.
everything. It was so
Yeah,
good.
building blocks, like all the mechanisms, all the joints, the sticks you can move around. And
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes build like tanks or guns. Sometimes parents are not happy with that. They're always mad about it.
Uh,
That's that's
I
negative.
mean that's good because yeah, I've seen a few of like Lego Master series and stuff as well. Like
Yeah,
you know
thing
how
is, even though the things I build are probably maybe like very dangerous, but the mechanically and inside of it, everything's like advanced stuff is happening inside of it.
I mean
So you get to
these are
learn a lot about mechanisms. So.
yeah. I mean, in my opinion, these are really good for a kid for to like pick up all the problem solving abilities and the cognitive thinking and all those sort of stuff. So it's not just toys. Like it helps a kid a lot in their childhood. So yeah, these are essential for a kid. And yeah, so I sort of yeah. Most of my childhood was like all the stuff like that.
All right, so we move to the next question now.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
kind of job did you have when you were young, when you were a kid? Like, did you have a job?
Yeah, my dream job when I was a kid, like what kind of a job I wanted to have when I was a kid was without a doubt, I just wanted to be an astronaut or a space shuttle, someone to work at NASA or something like that. That's what my dream was back in the day. And the main reason, I'll tell you the main reason, is because back in the day we had the newspaper called Vijaya. I'm not sure if it's still
Yeah, I
around.
know. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
still
which is still around, right? So they had this series with solar systems. So one day it's about Saturn, one day it's about Jupiter and how big it is, and then the other day it's about Earth, Mars, Venus, all this stuff. And so I was very curious about all this stuff, and again telescopes, like all these satellites and the solar systems and everything. So those were very fascinated me. And then I felt like I should maybe do do a scientist or someone like that to work at a NASA, or I'm sure SpaceX was there back in the day as well, but I didn't know about SpaceX because Vijay was not mentioning about SpaceX back in the day. But yeah, I mean, that was one of my main dream jobs. But then with time passing by, I sort of switched from that mentality, that mindset to I sort of wanted to be around with computers. I was very curious to know about how computers work, what's the mechanism behind computers, what is a computer, what's a processor, what's a CPU, all this stuff. So I got very curious about all this stuff, and so my dream job sort of slowly changed from the astronaut to a computer scientist or something, like someone with around computers. So I wanted to be someone like that.
Okay, so I also had an interest in space a lot. I still do. Like, I love space mainly because how interesting it is. I mean, the sun, an interesting fact I learned recently was a really interesting fact, because the sun is about 6,000 degrees Celsius, the maximum temperature of it, and the fact that it travels all those millions of kilometers from the sun to the earth, all of that heat, the fact that it still gets there even though it's only like 6 millions of kilometers, even though it's only just 6,000 degrees Celsius, so it just still gets to us and it still feels extremely hot to us, which is a really fascinating fact for me. I still love space.
Yeah. I mean, that was the same mindset that I was in as well. I was like very curious to know all this stuff, and I would go out at night to just look at the sky and see all the stars, and I would try to sort of match that with all the stuff that I could find in the newspapers. And
I wouldn't really do that. I just grab a magnifying glass and just burn a bunch of paper with it. That was the most fascinating part to me as a child.
Yeah,
just watching it burn.
Yeah, I guess I missed that, but yeah, I might do that. Who knows? Maybe I still can do that.
So I wanted to ask why you went to Australia, and were you young when you went there to Australia?
Yeah, I migrated to Australia more than 5 years ago now, 5 and a few months ago. The decision was not a very hard one to make, to be honest, because I always wanted to live in a foreign country since I was since I was 6-year-old. I guess it was a weird childish ambition that only grew up as time passing by. And then I finished my bachelor's degree in 2016 back in Sri Lanka, and during the time I was able to work 2 years as a developer because my university program, the third year was part-time and the fourth year was also part-time. So in third year, I got a job as a software developer, and then the last year I got a job as a web developer. So by the time I graduated, I already have 2 years of experience as a web developer and a software developer. But I feel like I wanted to sort of need to face more of a challenge. I wanted more of a challenge than the ones that I faced in Sri Lanka, but I'm not saying that I didn't get enough challenges in the ICT industry because I was only there for 2 years. But with that feeling and with that ambition that I wanted to go to a new country, and I just wanted to experience the culture and everything in a new country. And then I was starting to investigate about the options that I have, and there were Australia and New Zealand as the first two countries. The quality of the education system in Australia, it was everywhere in the newspapers back in 2015, 2016. And also the nation was also ranked as one of the most livable countries, and Melbourne, Victoria itself ranked as most livable city for 3 years in a row or something. And also another interesting thing is that I always wanted to watch the Ashes cricket series, Australia versus England, live at the MCG. So based on all these lists that I just told you, it was a very easy decision. I just picked Australia without any hesitation. So yeah.
I would have picked Australia as well, probably.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I would have picked Australia as well.
Yeah, that's a smart move.
When you said you wanted to go to another country at a young age, that's something I also wanted to do. That's something I still want to do. But with the
Yeah.
situation in the country and how expensive plane tickets also are, what are the chances? Everybody wants to leave the country now with the political situation,
Really.
the economic crisis. It's a
Yeah, yeah.
huge problem. But I wanted to go when I was like 7 or 6 years old. So had
Yeah.
we have gone, I always come to my parents and I'm like, you. So if you had listened to me, we would have been somewhere like UK, but we're stuck here.
Now, I totally get it because I feel like you're coming from the same place that like I am, like I was. So yeah, it's good to have this conversation. So yeah.
Why exactly did you get into software design?
I guess as I told you before, I always had that thing for computers. I always wanted
Yeah.
to learn more about when I was like researching about that NASA and spaces and everything. I was just very curious to know that how would they capture all this information from satellites and like I was very curious kid back then. And at one point of a time, I understood that computers are the mastermind behind all of these inventions or innovations and all this new stuff that I keep hearing about. So yeah, that's when I thought these computers are very fascinating. And then I took a decision to pursue my career in computer science. Sorry, not my career, my bachelor's degree in computer science, because I wanted to sort of get the answers to all the questions that I have mentioned before. And then during that time, during the 4 years, then I was involved with various of programming subjects and then programming projects. For example, the first one is just creating a calculator using C or C++. And since then, it was gaming and then the web projects and all the portals and chat programs, all this stuff. So they were very fascinated me. And then that's when I decided at the end of like second year. So because starting from third year, I could go to a job. I thought that yeah, I would try this out. I would try software design and development. So yeah, that's how I first get into software design and development.
Okay, so I can definitely relate to you with the gaming part. That's something every child does. We
Yeah.
also got a comment here. It's an amazing initiative, Nethila, interviewing successful people from our own country. Anka, the knowledge is abundant. Excited to see you. More young entrepreneurs emerge from this country. Thank you, Mr. Sasik, Vanidi Surya. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasika.
What got you into data engineering?
Yeah, so I told you that I was a software developer and a web developer back in Sri Lanka. And then in
Yeah.
2017, I migrated to Australia for my master's degree, which is in software design and development. And during my time here, I understood the value of data and the sorts of thing you could do if you have your hands on a data set. And so what happened was that in my final year research, my research was more based on, it was not based on software design and development. It was more based on how to extract data from Twitter based on hashtags, and then how would you run a sentiment analysis on it. So sentiment analysis is something like, based on the context, you can see that tweet, what's the emotion behind the tweet. For example, was it an angry tweet? Was it a sad one? Was it a happy tweet? And things like that. So I did that, and then I thought that, all right, so I was a software developer, and then I wanted to pursue my career in software engineering, but then data doesn't sound so bad. I should try this out. And then that's how I first landed on my internship as a data analyst, and then the current job that I do. So currently I'm working as a data engineer, but I started as a data analyst. But a year down the track, we realized that my skill set with the software design and development, they match more and they align more towards the data engineering side of it. So yeah, that's how I sort of took a U-turn from data analysis to data engineering. So yeah, that's my story.
Oh, we got a comment from Kamaj Silva. Dilan, what's up?
Hey Kamaj, how are you? One of the most, I guess, the Cinnamon Chat with Nethila episode that I enjoyed was the one that you did with Kamaj. I really learned a lot from that man. So yeah, so he's definitely gonna put Sri Lanka in the map, and he already did. But yeah, within the next 2-3 years, yeah, he's gonna explode.
It seems like you're a very curious person. First, you got into the software engineering, and then you're like, let me try out data. So you're a very curious person, it seems, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing you still are.
Yeah, I mean, my advice to any student was that you don't have to decide everything by the time you get to 15, 18, or 20 or 25. It's just a journey. So once you start the journey, and then once you get more experience, once you're exposed to more boundaries, then only you might change your mindset, and like it's okay to explore all these territories and then try it out. So it's a good thing. It's a good habit in my opinion, at least.
It's great to learn all this from you about how you were as a kid, how you are now. It seems that you've grown a lot.
Yeah, I think so too.
Now, I heard that you are a nominee for the ACS Awards. Can you tell us what the ACS Awards is and about how you learned about it and how you got into that?
Yeah, I would first tell a bit about what ACS is. So ACS stands for Australian Computer Society. Um, so Australian Computer Society celebrates tech talents across Australian tech industry every year annually. So the main goal is to recognize the innovators, leaders, and emerging professionals who are making a difference and contributing to the ICT sector of Victoria, not just Victoria, all across Australia. According to ACS, so the nomination that I received and the finalist nomination was under the Emerging Professional of the Year. Just to tell you a bit about that award itself, is the award is awarded to an individual who has established their career in ICT and who should be in their youth. It should be below 30 years of age and should have limited experience, and they should have showcased a bit of excellence and a drive towards the professional development as well. And also, most importantly, they should showcase or they should demonstrate themselves with the highest standards of ethics and professionalism. And so yeah, that's a bit about what ACS is, what the award is. And I'm proud to say that I was elected as a finalist for the Emerging ICT Professional of the Year 2022 award.
Yeah.
um, it's a great achievement, not just for me, to be honest, for all the international students who migrated from Sri Lanka, because the common belief among the students is that we can't just go beyond the students level, like, we have to stay in a comfort zone, we can't do that. And so they set their boundaries by themselves, and they set expectations for themselves, and uh, they actually put limitations by themselves. So yeah, I guess I want to see if I can, like, go beyond that. And yeah, I guess yeah, that's all about the what ACS sees the awardees, and sort of my sentiments towards the award. Yeah, I guess that answered your question.
Now I understand what ACS is. I was kind of wondering what exactly is the purpose of ACS and what exactly it does, and you're a
Yeah, yeah,
nominee
yeah,
for it as well. So that cured my curiosity, I guess.
yeah.
And I saw that you have built your personal brand digitally, like really well. Like your personal brand digitally is very well. And I
Yeah,
went through your website, dilanjayasekara.com.
yeah.
Is it
DJSector.com.
is it important to build a personal brand? And can you give us a few tips on how to build a personal brand?
I guess personal brand is everything, because if you
Because
just develop.
that's what people think of you when they hear your name, right?
Yeah, that. And also, before I come to that, I would tell you, so you would know, like, because if you have if you have a business, if you have an organization, or if you're like basically selling a product, you should
Yeah.
do the branding and marketing for the product as well, right?
Yes.
And then it's the same for all the services and the individuals as well, because
Yeah.
individually we are also, after we graduated, if you're going for a job, then there's a job market, and then there are lots of
Yeah.
candidates compete to a one position, and for you to grab one of the positions, then you should sort of brand yourself properly. So you should have sort of, back in the day it was like, um, I heard this saying that personal branding like 20 years ago was what's others thinking when you are not in the room. So that was personal branding back then. But now it is when someone googled your name, what what comes up. So that's your personal branding nowadays. So for your question, you asked me, is it important to build a personal brand? Yes. And a few tips on how to build a personal brand is that my major two tips are, based on my experience. What I did was, when I was a graduate, when I graduated from here, from my master's, what I did was I started a blog for myself, and I started putting everything that I learned during my university and my final year research and everything. I just put it into a blog, and then I tried to put everything in my mind to that blog, because what happens and what ends up happening is that after 2 or 3 years down the track, when I needed that, I would have just forgotten about all of it. So that's why I just wanted to sort of have that kind of a journal there, and then I created the blog. And then so that blog really helped me with all my job opportunities and the job that I got as well, because for example, if there's a job for a data engineer or a software engineer, and there's 10 other people compete to the position, if you got a good blog going on, and also the next one is your LinkedIn profile, you should have a really good online presence with your LinkedIn profile, because that's one of the major personal branding elements, components that you can use nowadays. Once you have those two, because if you are going for a job, that employee would definitely search you in Google and LinkedIn as well. So you should have, if you would have built your personal brand, that's sort of like a key for you to unlock a lot of doors. So yeah, so I feel like your personal brand is important, not just for organizations, not just for sellers, all the individuals out there. You should definitely do your own personal branding. Yeah, if you haven't done so, just start today. That's my advice.
Okay, so that's great advice for everyone here. A really important question I wanted to ask is like, are there any challenges that you faced as an immigrant?
Oh, yeah, a lot actually, a few of them. One of the main challenge that I found as an immigrant, as a migrant to this country, was the first thing is that you don't know anyone when you're in the country.
Yeah.
Because back in Sri Lanka, if you want something, you could always go to your dad for an advice, or like everyone to do all the services and everything. But then when I first get here, and it's me and my wife, and then previously you asked me the question that how would I were when I first migrated to Australia. So I was 23, so I got married in 23 to my girlfriend back then, now my wife, and then we migrated to Australia for my higher studies. And so back then there was no one that we know for anything to ask how to get a job, or to get to do anything, like we don't know anyone. So the most challengeful thing that I faced was that how to build that social networking skill, because I need to work with professionals here already established in Australia. So how would I do that? Where do I start? And how do I sort of have this small talk with a stranger? Because, for example, if I got a car and then if I need to go to a mechanic, I just have to go there and just explain what my requirement is and everything. So I just needed to figure out all this by my own, and then all this stuff, so that it's just slowly built up. But then at one point of a time, I was very comfortable with everything. And but looking back, retrospect, that was the most difficult thing, that social networking, because you don't know anyone. It's a new country, new culture, new everything. It's completely different to Sri Lanka, and there was a lot of culture shock as well. And so just
Any advice you would have for someone who's gonna go to migrate to Australia, probably?
Yeah, I would say that one of the main advices that I could give anyone is that just work on building your social skills. By social skills, what I meant is that how do you communicate with someone, especially if you're meeting with a stranger. I was very nervous at first, because I was like, so these guys are Australian grown, like foreigners, white guys. So how would I just go there and talk with someone? I'm just a kid from Sri Lanka, so I always had that fear in my mind. And so what I want everyone to do is that, first, if you are still nervous and fear, it's all right to be fear, or it's all right to be nervous, but just do it. Just go for it. Just take the first step, and the second step would be much easier than the first step. So just go for it. Just keep push yourself into those boundaries, and just do that, and then only you could really reach your true potential. And then once you realize this is the way that I should communicate with this person, and it should be different to that person, once you realize that hierarchy of communication styles, it's really easy to blend with the community, and it's really easy to blend with the culture of that new country that you just migrated to. And so yeah, it's all about communications, and I guess it's also part of your personal branding as well. Now we can also link that to the personal branding section as well.
So thank you very much for that. I'm sure a lot of people here found that helpful, because not just Sri Lankans are going to migrate to Australia or the other countries. There are other people from other countries who are going to migrate to other countries as well. So we also have some comments here from Sasik Vanagasuriya. Hey Dylan, I myself am looking to migrate to Aussie soon, and I would love to catch up with you. If I may ask a question, what advice do you have for the younger generation back home despite these trying times?
Yeah, I think we got this question lined up for a later as well, right, Nethila?
For the because we have a younger generation back home. Yeah, we do have a question for this, so we will get
Yeah,
that to that soon.
we will get that to that, Sasika. Thank you very much for your comment, for your question.
From Ahmed Hilal. How about freelancing? So maybe he's talking about advice of about freelancing.
Um, I'm not exactly sure what that question. If you could just elaborate a bit more, Ahmed.
Yeah, maybe he's asking if you have any advice for freelancers or like tips about freelancing.
I mean, freelancing is good because that's something that I did back in my second year of uni as well. So in 2013, 2014, um, I used all these freelancing websites to work on graphic designing stuff and then doing some Java projects and all this sort of stuff. So freelancing is really good. But I would say my only thing is that, and well, this is my personal opinion, and anyone can challenge me on that. Um, I don't think doing freelancing makes you an entrepreneur, to be honest, because there's this whole hype with entrepreneurship now. With I mean, back in Sri Lanka, which is good, but I feel like the one that put the previous comment, Kamaj. So I feel like Kamaj is a great online entrepreneur compared to just freelancing stuff, because if you're doing freelancing, which means you're a freelancer, which means you're not working for someone directly to an organization, but then if you're working for another website that is offering you the freelancing service, which means you are still working for them, and which means you're not. In my opinion, I don't think that's the entrepreneurship. That's not the concept of online entrepreneur. The concept of entrepreneur and the online entrepreneur is different. But freelancing is very good. Just don't mistake the two terms of entrepreneurship with freelancing. But yeah, if you're doing freelancing, you would get a lot of knowledge from freelancing as well, because especially time management, because you have to meet the deadlines with the clients, and you should know how to handle their expectations, how to handle client expectations, and how to communicate with them properly. All these sorts of things will give you a whole new level of skills, which will be definitely beneficial for you in your future. So yeah, so I think that answered your question, Ahmed. If you feel like there's another one that's coming up, just feel free to shoot one.
We have another comment from Saskia Anigasuri. I definitely agree. Networking is essential, very essential in personal achievement. Thank you. We'll move on to the next question if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
So, is there any advice you can give to international students?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of advice that I can give to international students, because that's where I'm coming from. To answer the question, Nethila, I think I would maybe give you an example of what sort of happened to me when I was international students and what I went through. Because when I graduated from my masters, what happened was that not just me, everyone who graduates after they came into Australia or any other country, what they want to do is they want to find themselves a job, right? So the thing with Australia, and particularly in Victoria, Melbourne, is that not all the jobs is getting advertised in publicly. There's a hidden job market out there. So 80% of the jobs are hidden there. Only 20% of them is getting advertised on LinkedIn, or there's another few websites called Jora and Seek, and there's a few dozen websites like that who post job vacancies. So what people would normally do is that they would create a different sets of cover letters for different JDs, and then very beautiful resumes, and they would just apply to dozens, like 50 or 60 jobs interviews, and then they would expect a call, but no one called them. And the main reason behind that was that they're playing with the public job market, but in Australia there's a hidden job market where you can access. And then the next question that as someone would ask me is that, where is that job market? Where can I find it? Where's the tunnel to that secret job market? And my advice is that there's no secret tunnel. It's just you have to go to networking events, you have to go to meetups, and then you have to meet new people, and there are all the opportunities out there. Because what I did was, I was lucky enough when I first graduated, I found out that there's a hidden job market in Melbourne, And then I just went out there for a few meetups, and I just went out for like few months, like 3-4 months. And in the fifth month, I did a public speech there as well, because I just want to push myself and I just want to see what I can do. I mean, I was nervous, and which didn't really go well in my opinion, but then I did something there. So based on all this stuff, what happens to me, and at the end of the day, someone else came up to me and offered me an internship there, and then that's how I got my internship. And after the internship ends after 3 months, that mentor or the supervisor or the person who I reported to, who was a friend with the current workplace that I'm working in, so the senior manager was a friend of him, and then he sort of recommended me to the current workplace that I'm working on. So in my case, I haven't applied for dozens of jobs. I just played with the hidden job market. So my advice to the international students is that just go out there, just step out of your comfort zones, because the comfort zones is very comfort and you can just stay there as long as you want, but push yourself to sorts of states of discomforts, because I feel like that's how you discover your true potential. Otherwise, you don't know who you are. Same as you don't know what your weaknesses are, and same as you don't know what your strengths are. To test all the limits, you have to push yourself to unknown territories and see what you're going to do. So that's how the brain works. So yeah, that's my main advice to all the international out there. I'm pretty much sure it's not just for Australia. I'm sure it's the same to all other countries as well.
I'm sure that answered a lot of questions and a lot of doubts that these international students had. Thank you very much for that insight, that knowledge, that advice. And since you're an IT professional, can you give some advice to IT students in Sri Lanka?
I feel like the main thing that I could tell right now is that IT or information technology is not just building technical skills. So that's one of the main things that I would love to point out right now, because it's a combination of both technical skills and the soft skills. I mean, technical skills are good. I'm not saying that don't focus on your technical skills, because if you want to be a software engineer, then of course you need to know your way around OOP concepts and the new frameworks and everything. Yeah, but you should have at least a blend of soft skills and technical skills, like at least a 60-40, which means 60% of technical skills and at least 40% of soft skills. So you should carry out all this stuff. So once you have all these tools in your toolkit, that really helps you to become a IT professional, which really helps you with your career growth, and not just the career growth. When you created this IQ and EQ both, EQ means the emotional intelligence that you have. So once you improve both the slide, and then when you have a balance, it really helps you with your career, and not just your career, it just helps you with, as an individual, it helps you for your personal life and your lifestyle, and as an individual for you to grow up, it really helps with that. So my advice to all the IT professional out there is that, so tech skills are good, but it's a combination. There should be a combination. So just learn how to balance the technical skills and the soft skills. And also, one of the other advice that I have to give to all the young ICT professionals in Sri Lanka is that use your 20s to absorb as much as knowledge as you can, because your 20s are really good for you to explore all the same thing that I did. So I was a web developer, I was a software developer, and then I tried out data analysis. I was a data analyst, and then now I'm a data engineer. I don't know what I'll be in 5 years of time. I mean, I know where I want to go, but in terms of that path, you would pick up more stuff, because especially in your 20s, just be a sponge and go out there and just absorb everything that you can. Just
soak it all up.
Yeah, just suck it all up.
So they also say, people say to learn languages at a young age, because it's easier for you to absorb all the knowledge. It's easier for you to remember, because not much stuff is happening in your head right now. Like, you don't have to memorize a lot of things. Like when you grow older, if you're a kid, if you're like 8 or 9, 13 maybe, you don't have much stuff stuck in your head. You don't have to worry about your future, your job, or anything. So
Yeah,
nothing like that is too much. You have enough space in your head to learn something. So they always say to learn, if you're learning a language or something, learn it at a
exactly.
young age.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now that's
so
true
that's some
because
good advice.
you got a lot of capacity back in that age, and um,
Exactly.
yeah, you can absorb a lot. So just use that time to just be a sponge, just like absorb all the wisdom, everything that you can. So I'm sure it'll return you, and that will be a good return of investment in 10 years of time, in 20 years of time, for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the knowledge. Can I ask what soft skills have helped you in your life? What soft skills have
Yeah.
helped you?
Yeah, since I mentioned the soft skills in the previous question, I
Yes.
guess there were few. I'm having trouble.
Maybe the important ones?
Yeah, yeah, I'll just name a few, but these are not the ranking, to be honest, because I need to work on the rankings. But the main thing, one of the main thing, is the communication and the communication style. I've already brought this up in a previous question as well. So the communication is very important. You should know how to communicate with someone. You should know how to um, propose an idea that you have. You should know how to if there's an argument or something, you should know how to tackle that. You shouldn't be very aggressive on that. So all the communication, so communication is a wide range, so you should try to master communication. And I only know like 5% or 10% of the communication styles, to be honest, so there's a lot for me to learn. So that's a very good skill to have, communication. And then the second one is, I would say, as a soft skill, decision making and problem solving skills that you have. So these are things that you would pick up since you are a kid. You would pick up these stuff, and then with every stage that you are passing on in your life as well, so you would absorb a lot of knowledge in this stuff. So decision making and problem solving, these are good. And also empathy. You should know what empathy is, and why should be empathetic towards someone, and what is empathy and what is compassion, how these two collaborates together, and what's the combination of these two, what does it mean. And also another one is time management. Time management is very critical. So if you can learn all these soft skills, time management, communication, decision making, and problem solving. And also, just to name another one, it could be creativity, because creativity helps you a lot in your career. Because sometimes parents are like, whenever a kid is drawing something on a wall or on a piece of paper or something, they were like, they don't encourage the kid to continue with the drawings and everything, because they feel like it's a waste of time. But it's not like that really helps the kid with their cognitive thinking and their problem solving skills and the creativity. And that creativity, it really helped me with my problem solving skills as well, for me to look at a problem with another pair of lens from a different perspective. So these really helped me. And just to finish that answer, I would add work ethics as well. Work ethics should definitely something that you should carry out with you for the rest of your life. Not just the work ethics, just you as a general should develop your own ethics, and you should stick to it. So yeah, I think I've named 4 or 5 of them, but it's not the end of the list. I'm sure there are a lot more, but yeah, just on the top of my head, these are the things that I could come up with. But yeah, there's a lot more.
Thank you for that. You're giving quick answers, and they're not too fast, but like they are like, how to say, like you come up with the answers really quickly, and
Yeah.
they're actually really good answers. So yeah, you're a quick thinker, I could say that. And Sri Lanka is having a tough time. We had a comment earlier asking about this, and we've reached that question. So if you're still
Yeah.
here, this is your chance to listen in. Sri
Yeah.
Lanka is
Yeah.
having a tough time. What is your advice to youth about success?
Yeah. Before I answer that, yeah, I would answer the other comment that you made as well. That I'm coming up with all these answers very quickly. It's because uh, I work with a lot of international students here in Australia, and then they always have similar types of questions, like what sort of soft skills that we have to build. And they're also international students, and they are facing very hardships with getting a job. They're trying to go into the Australian workforce, and so they're having all sorts of difficulties with that. And since that award with the ACS, now I'm working with the ACS at their Young Professional Committee as the vice chair. So I'm trying my best to contribute my best to the community out there and help them. And so yeah, that's why I'm just sort of familiarized with all these sorts of questions. So yeah, I can just get something out of my head really quickly, I guess. So yeah, that's that. And to your next question, if Sri Lanka is having a tough time, and what's my advice to youth about success? So I guess in my opinion, success is well, especially for youth. So if I consider the younger generation who was in their 20s, like 20s or early 30s, I guess in my opinion, and anyone can challenge me on that, saying that it's not, but I think success is a choice. It's not a result of something that you do. In my opinion, it's a path that you should take. For example, I know, before saying that, I need to let you guys know that I know the exact situation in Sri Lanka, because I got in touch with my dad, my mom, and my sister all the time, and I know all the hardships, the petrol queues, there's no gas, the food prices, the inflation is skyrocketing. I know all the practical scenario there. So I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that I know that, because someone would say that it's easy for you to say all this stuff because you're in Australia, but it's not like that. So I know the exact situation in Sri Lanka. So I'm just giving you my opinion, and this is the same opinion, the same advice that I give to my students as well. So success is a choice, so it's not a result. So just take a path. I know this is a very hard time, but the human brain, it cannot comprehend the negatives or the negative feelings. So the brain is not designed that way psychologically. Like, it was scientifically proven. And I would give you an example as well, Nethila, for you and all those who are listening and watching right now. If I ask you to sort of not think about a dog, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to think about a dog, because the human brain can't comprehend the negatives. Because if you are only focusing about the obstacles or the problems, those are the sorts of problems that you're going to attract. But if you are, instead of focusing on the solutions, you would definitely attract the solution. So what you have to do is just keep thinking about, I know it's hard, but instead of just telling yourself that I can't do this, and then the brain rewires with all these thoughts that you are getting into your brain, and then the brain thinks that, all right, so this man doesn't want to do this, and then he would just help you not do it. So what you have to do is just change the mindset from I can't do this to I'm going to keep doing it, and then that really helps you, that switching between from that negative thought to positive thought. So that really helps you. And sometimes it is like an obvious thing to someone, but this really makes a difference. So just follow the path. Just only follow the path, and then if you just focus on the path, then it's really easy for you to do that. And then the last one that I want to tell you guys as an advice is that you can't control the outside world. I know that there is lots going on in Sri Lanka, but you can't control that. You can't control the outside world. So just focus on improving yourself, because if you're in your 20s, you still got good 5, 10, 15 years ahead of you. So don't think about the things that you can't control. I mean, I'm not saying that just forget about all the problems that you have, but at least invest a lot of time in yourself to improve yourself, because it's like planting a seed and then you can't get the results within a day or two or a week or two. It just takes some time. So focus on improving yourself, and I'm sure that success would be a definite path for you, and you can definitely go through all these barricades, and you can just go towards success. So that's my opinion.
That's some great advice. I didn't usually think of that method that you're telling, the switching from. I haven't really thought of that or used it at all. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I would probably scroll through YouTube for a motivational video here and there. Like, there are times where I don't really need motivation. Like I don't rely.
I mean, it's the same thing. What happens with kids, right? You know, if you tell a kid to don't do something, he would definitely do that. So that's why, because instead of saying that don't eat on the couch, you said you should tell him or her that eat on the table. So it
Yeah.
works very well on the brain, because if you told someone don't do it, that's the only thing that he's thinking. It doesn't
Yeah,
the
yeah.
don't thing. It's just the
I've
thing.
seen this. I've seen this on social media. Parents are advising other parents to use this method.
Yeah,
Don't eat on the table. Don't eat on the table. Eat on like don't eat on the floor. Eat on the table or something like that.
yeah. I
Or
mean, yeah,
sometimes they use like reverse psychology.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, that's sort of the. I know it's a tough time, but that's my advice to youth, because you're still in your youth and you're good time. I know what's happening the world right now, out there right now is bad, but don't always focus on the negativity out there. Just focus on improving yourself, and I'm sure that will give you returns within the next 2 or 3 years for sure. So yeah.
Okay. So that's some good advice. The method that you told, the method that you just told right now, and the advice you give. That's great. Thank you very much. I'm sure parents and youth, they are all enjoying this live session, learning a lot. What is your message to parents who have kids who are my age, around 13 years old?
Uh, I would say that parents don't bother children when they're skateboarding or when they're playing cricket or when they're playing badminton. Just don't bother them. Just let
Yeah.
kids be kids. So if parents can really do
Let
that,
kids be kids. I'm
let
pretty
kids
sure my
be.
dad is listening to this live session right now. Might be some good advice for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's definitely what the parents should do, because I've seen some parents that they're saying the kids that, like, learn, and then they push the kids to always be on the top of the class and everything. But I don't believe that you should. I mean, it's good to be in top of a class, but then especially Sri Lankan education system, it doesn't tell you your knowledge, it just tests your storage capacity. How much of a knowledge, not a knowledge, how much of a memory that you have. So it's like having a computer with 10 terabytes of memory but 128 MB of RAM. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can have a lot of storage, you can remember all this stuff, but then it's not good. So I think that's what we need to change the Sri Lankan education system. I guess I'm not sure when it's going to change. I hope that it's going to change one day. But yeah, just don't focus on, or don't disappoint that if your kid is not in the first two or three. And if I mean, if I was a dad, like, I would be definitely happy with my kid to be in 15 or 20 in the class, because which
Oh,
means they.
that's also something good. My dad's probably listening to that as well right now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
The only.
him and mom have been kind of pressuring me to get good marks. So I don't have to get first or second. I'll try to get that, but I don't
Yeah,
have to be the best.
yeah, yeah. The only reason
I mean,
I'm
most parents
saying,
forget the point that a child is still a child. Like they are still learning as well.
because I don't think a child would just learn from the education materials, because there are a lot that they
Yeah,
will
there are
learn
things
from.
that they have to learn
Even
themselves.
it does, yeah. Even it's a sport. He would build a lot of team building, and then he would know how to collaborate with someone. And this will really come in handy when you get out to the workspace, because you don't have to be like close to yourself all the time. You should know get to go out there and then help when needed, and that just collaborate with everyone, and all those sorts of skills they build if you are involved in a sport. And all these the things that you have mentioned earlier with building blocks, the Legos and everything. And
Yeah.
if your kid is into drawing, paintings and watercolors and things like that, just let him play with it, just let her play with it, just let her enjoy that piece, that little me time. That me time is not just for adults. The me time is for the kids, adults, and senior citizens, everyone. So the me time is definitely needed.
Me time is for me.
Yeah. So my message to parents is like that, because when I was growing up, like, my mom and dad, they never pushed me to be on the top of uh, my class. So I just barely passed my grade 5 scholarship, to be honest. And then for my O levels as well, I got 3 A's and 5 B's, something like that. And then I barely passed my A level as well, to be honest. But so it's not just that, it's the attitude and the mindset that your kid develops. So just make sure that you help your kid with everything, and make sure that you appreciate the things that he or she is doing, and just love them, and just doing that, I'm sure that you would create a better child, and that's what you want. So yeah, that's my opinion, and anyone can challenge me on that, and yeah, maybe your dad would now come and kill me right now, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay, so that was my last question for you, but before we end it off, we have a few comments over here.
Yeah.
Sivabala Murthy is asking, please tell the difference between Sri Lanka and Australian education lifestyle.
Yeah, by education lifestyle, I'm not sure if he meant the education in Sri Lankan like schools or the university level. So if you can just sort of clarify that, that's good. And maybe he can comment again, and then maybe we can.
Yeah.
For now, we will switch into another question.
We also have another comment after that. Dreams and emotional goals takes to success from Mariappan and Valikan. So that's also a nice comment. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have another comment. Hey Dilan, being in a foreign environment, how important is it to step out of your comfort zone to strive for significant results?
That was an amazing question, Sasika, and that's also one of the things that I mentioned earlier as well. It is important than anything else in your priority list, to be honest. You have to push yourself to states of discomforts, and that's how you get out of your comfort zone, because your comfort zone is very comfort, like you wouldn't just get out of it because it's comfort, but the thing is that once you get out there, and then once you meet new people, and then once you build these skills with them, once you learn how to talk with a stranger, and then once you know how to network with people, that would open the doors like you never have imagined before. So going out there and just putting the effort to go out there, because it's like that planting a seed story. So you can't get the result within a month or two, but in my experience, I'm really glad that 3.5 years ago I went to that first meetup that I went. I'm really glad that I did it, because it really helped me slowly, brick by brick. It really helped me to build the current person that I have created. If it's something, yeah. So all these steps that they slowly added up, and yeah. So and another thing is that, so if you want to work towards something, slow is the fastest way. Don't look for shortcuts. In my opinion, just work slowly, and just believe in the exponential growth. Exponential growth is really good. You can take the first few months or years very slowly, and then there's a time where you can pick up. That also reflects on the previous advice that I gave for the youngsters in their 20s, because just enjoy your 20s and absorb more knowledge. So that's more of your exponential growth. This like the linear path, and then you could always explode at one point of a time. Maybe it's after 30s, so it's just 10 years. So just absorb all the knowledge and everything. So yeah, I guess that answered your question, Sasika. If not, yeah, please let me know. Happy to answer.
You also have another question. Please tell both school and uni education lifestyle.
Yeah, I would say the main difference that I saw with the school style is that, because I've got a lot of friends now who grew up here in Australia, and based on their feedback and based on their comments and opinions, what I captured was that they help even when you are a kid. Even when you are in kindergarten, like similar to preschool back in Sri Lanka, or like Montessori, what we say, so the preschool level, they help your kids to play with crafting and play with clays and play with Legos and things like that. So they really encourage the parents to do that as well. So it's all about creativity. Like they always work with sands and different kinds of materials. They touch and they sense the different kind of materials. So it's starting from kindergarten, and then even they get into the education system in grade 1 and 2, and then up to grade 12. They were very much balanced with all the subjects. So it's not just they teach you about the economy, and then how a country runs, and what is a bit of like a politics and a bit of history of everything. So this stuff I've never seen in Sri Lankan what you call the education system, because we are very much focusing on the STEM subject, which is good actually. STEM is really good, but there are other perspectives towards students' education as well, in my opinion, and I think these countries, they really absorb that really well, and then they mixed it up, blended it up very well with the younger generation, especially the teenagers, and so that's one of the main observations that I took from all this stuff. So yeah, I guess that answered your question, Steve Balamurthy.
Yeah, we still have like about we have one last comment before. I think that there will be more people want to ask questions or comment. You can please comment. Yes, I
Yeah,
definitely agree. Mary Appang, a man with a clear vision will always prevail. You can prove that up. Yeah, thank you. So if there are more comments or if there are none, we can finish off the session. So we'll just wait like a minute to see if people will comment.
yeah.
Any last questions? I think that's it. We will end off the session then, Mr. Dylan.
All good.
Thank you very much for joining. Like I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Like we got to learn, the audience and me, we all got to learn so much from you. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing. Thank you for spending your time here. You
yeah. I
shared so
mean,
much knowledge.
yeah. I mean, I really hope the audience has captured something new from the session, and thank you very much, Nethila, for inviting me,
Thank you
for
very
having
much for
me.
accepting the invite.
It's really good. Yeah,
It's
thank you very much.
it's amazing to have.
Thank you very
And
much.
before we wrap up the session, the audience, thank you very much for joining the session. Thank you very much for staying here with us if you stayed until the end. Oh, we have one last question.
Yeah, let's go.
Hi Dylan, how important is mentorship in your personal growth journey? If you have any experience with that.
In my personal experience, when I was a graduate, I was looking for mentors, but back in the day, I couldn't succeed with that for some reason, and that's one of the reasons now I'm working with the ACS, Australian Computer Society, to have these mentorship programs for, especially in Victoria, Melbourne, to sort of having that mentorship sessions and having sort of like a mentor and mentee relationship building, because it really helps, especially the recent graduates and the mentees, and mentors also can have a bit of leadership skills and team management skills as well at the same time. um, so yeah, so your question, how important is mentorship? It is quite important, not just for the mentor, to the mentee as well, but choose your mentor really carefully.
I think that's the last question. So once again,
Perfect.
thank you very much, Mr. Dylan. Thank you for coming.
Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, thanks Nethila.
And
Thank you very much.
audience, thank you very much for joining. If you stayed with us until the end, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. So with that, we're gonna end the broadcast.